Hey, it's BJ. Very basic Bible. There we go. Gonna look at Ruth, chapter 4. I saw something interesting about Ruth, chapter 4. Share screen. Not interesting. I was looking at. Okay, so here's the usual Bible translations we have. A bunch of ones that are pretty well recognized, plus this Catholic one, which I'm sure Catholics recognize it. Over here, that one's recognized, but otherwise, I guess the new Revised Standard Version people recognize. Yeah. Then I thought of something. There's the NASB. I click on right over here, NASB. Click on this tab, NASB. Okay, so the same Bible, but then there's the NASB 95. I wondered, well, how does the NASB 95 differ from the NASB? I was like, let's go look at Ruth. There we go. We needed that fixed. I was like, let's go look at Ruth and see. So started reading. It seemed pretty similar. Then Boaz said, on the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, who's buying it? The next of kin, the closer relative, the redeemer. Boaz is a close relative of Elimelech, but there's an even closer relative. Okay. You want to be as close of a relative as possible without committing incest, basically. So Boaz said, on the day you, the redeemer, the closer redeemer, on the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi. Okay, let's look over here at the NASB 1995. So this was translated, this NASB was reworked in 2020. This one was done in 1995. So there'd probably be some changes. Some might say improvements. Some will say, no, it's not as good. I don't know. I mean, 1995 until 2020 is 25 years. I'd assume that they'd get more scholarship. They'd get a better understanding of it. I'd assume they'd be improvements. So, all right. Then Boaz said, 1995. Oops. Then Boaz said, on the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi. Okay. Then Boaz said, on the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, so 95, you must also acquire Ruth the Moabitess. 2020, you must also acquire Ruth the Moabitess. Okay. 1995, back to 2020, back to 95, back to 2020. Okay. The widow of the deceased. The widow of the deceased. Nothing's changed so far. In order to raise up the name of the deceased, on his inheritance. Nothing different. There's a note right here. A little bitty A. Oh, it gives us some scriptural references. All right. No note here, but put the note there. I probably turned the notes off. Oh no, didn't I? Can you turn the notes off? Look, show NASB. Be referenced in notes. Look, right there. Same note. Same note. All right. But here you got an A, and here you got a number 1. All right. Verse 6. NASB 95. The closest relative said, Boaz is not the closest relative. The closest relative said, the one, literally redeemer. The closest relative, so that phrase right there, is literally redeemer. So it would be the redeemer said, okay. Let's look at the NASB 2020. Then the redeemer said, okay. That's cool. So the 2020 goes more literal. More literal. Here, the Redeemer, the closest relative, but there's more to being the closest relative, to being the Redeemer, than just being the closest relative. Is there? I'm sure there is. I was like, it's obvious. And then I can't think of anything. See your Bible teacher. You should go listen to someone else. Okay. The closest relative would be the Redeemer, but he wouldn't be the actual Redeemer if he didn't redeem. Yes, I cannot redeem it for myself. So he's not going to be a Redeemer. He's the one who is next in line to redeem. Maybe you would even say he should redeem, but he's like, I'm not going to redeem. Okay. The closest relative said. Then the Redeemer said. Now remember, these are the same versions, just done. Like this is an update. The 2020 is an update of from the one they did in 95. 1995 was an update from like the 70s, I think, sometime. Okay. The closest relative said. Then the Redeemer said, I cannot redeem it for myself. I cannot redeem it for myself because I would jeopardize my own inheritance. I would ruin, literally ruin. I would jeopardize, wait, the two is, it looks like it's attached to my. So the one is attached to the closest relative. If you look over here, the closest relative said, then the Redeemer said, closest relative, Redeemer. The closest relative said, the Redeemer said. So the one is on closest relative. But here, the two is on my. But you would think that I would ruin my own inheritance. Over here, it still says I would jeopardize, what's it? Literally damage. I would jeopardize, damage own inheritance. What is the word my actually like ruin or damage? So let's see some other numbers. One. There's a one. Let's see. We got one. So the closest relative said to Boaz up here, remember? The closest relative, okay. The closest relative, one, the Redeemer, literally Redeemer. Okay, it's still there. Looking for a small one or a small two to see if the one or the two is attached. What's it attached to? So there's an A, Deuteronomy 25:6. But that's the number. That's a verse reference telling us where to find. So Deuteronomy 25:6, go read that and it will explain some of this. Verses telling us what the word literally is. Oh, hey, here's court, in the court. Okay, and all the new one, verse 11 in ESV, and all the people who were in the court, and the elders said, we are witnesses. The older one. So I'll say updated. I'll say the older one, the updated one. Okay, so the updated one, and all the people who were in the court, and the elders said, we are witnesses. The older one. All the people who were in the court and the elders said, we are witnesses. Okay, so and all the people. Oh, and all the people versus all the people who were in the court, who were in the court. And the elders said, we are witnesses. We are witnesses. And look, both of them add the we and the are, because the italic words, they're added in. Look over here. KJV, we are. New King James, we are. They added in for clarity. So NESB is not being totally literal. If so, and the elders said, witnesses, it would be understood in the Hebrew. In the English, you try to translate it exactly, they're going to get strange sentences. When you translate from one language to another language, you always have to change it a little. It's just the way it is. Just the way it is. Okay, the number 1 is what we're looking for. Up here, the 1 is attached to closest relative, we think. But then the 2, the ruin, literally ruin, you would think would be attached to jeopardize, because I would ruin my own inheritance. Otherwise, it would be I would jeopardize, ruin, own inheritance. Same here. Otherwise, I would damage my own inheritance. But if we read it just like the 1 is attached to the words after it, the number is first, the word is second. You would think here the number would be first, the word would be second. So I would jeopardize, damage, own inheritance. It's kind of strange. Let's see what it says down here. Where is it at? The court. Okay. And all the people who were at the gate, in the court, at the gate. I bet this one says gate. Yep. All the people who were in the literally gate. All the people who were at the gate. The NESB says, no, the word in. The NESB updated says it's actually at. Maybe in versus literally at. They were like, hey, the geographical location is what's being gotten at. They weren't just in the gate. They were at the gate. They were at the place of the gate. So they tell us literally it's at the gate. Maybe. I don't know. Trying to get in their mind. You got any numbers again? Here's a 1. And here's okay. The updated. And the Lord enabled her, gave her conception. And the Lord enabled her, gave her conception. If the number comes first and then the words. So if the number replaces the words, the number is gave her conception. And the Lord enabled her, gave her conception. And she gave birth to a son. It's literal, but they change it so it makes sense in English. So maybe if they changed other parts of the sentence, it would also make sense, but they're trying to translate it just right. Okay. And the Lord enabled her, gave her conception, and she gave birth to son. That's kind of, here's a 1. Okay, for your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is better to you than 7 sons. That would work. Your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is better to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him. That works. For your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is better to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him. That would make sense, I guess. There's number 1. Oh, look at that. Laid him in her lap, laid the child in her lap. That, i.e., that is as her own child. It's like it's her own child. Naomi took the child that Ruth had as a baby, put it in her lap. It's like, hey, this is my child. It's kind of the way they did things. We'll look at another verse. We'll look at a passage when we get there. As her own. Okay, so they keep, it seems like they keep the same numbers, the same verse references, like right here, Matthew 1, 3-6. Matthew 1, 3-6. Oh, look. Perez fathered Hezron, Hezron fathered Ram, and Ram fathered Aminadab. Okay. To Perez was born Hezron, and to Hezron was born Ram. So that's the old one. This is the updated one. Trying to make it more literal, I'm guessing. Here's a number 1, which is not over here. Literally begot. To Perez begot Hezron. I'm guessing. And to Hezron begot Ram. Or to Perez, or Perez fathered Hezron. Perez fathered Hezron. Fathered begot. maybe. This tells us translating from Hebrew to English is very confusing. Okay, let's look at this. Here's what I wanted to look at for real, though. All right. Then Boaz said, oh, yeah. On the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, the old one, on the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, okay. Updated, you must also acquire Ruth the Moabitess. Updated, no, old one. You must also acquire Ruth the Moabitess. Updated, the widow of the deceased. Older, the widow of the deceased. In order to raise up the name, of the deceased on his inheritance, same exact. Good, you kept it. You gotta acquire Ruth the Moabitess in order to raise up the deceased on his inheritance. Who's deceased? To raise up the deceased? The widow of the deceased. Who is the deceased? Elimelech. Whenever he says, hey, you're gonna buy this field from Naomi, who are you really buying it from? Elimelech is the one who owned it. Elimelech. So really, this is Elimelech's land. Naomi dies, women don't pass on their name. She's not going to pass on the name of Elimelech. Too bad, Elimelech. Your name is cut off forever. For good. It's gone. You must also acquire Ruth the Moabitess because she can have a baby. She was married to Mahlon, who was Elimelech's son. So you got a baby and you got a person. You have a person to have a baby. Person dies. Okay, you find the next closest relative. That person you can't find, so you find the next one. Eventually, you got a daughter-in-law of the son of the man who's. So you got these links in this chain, right? You want to find, say, Elimelech's wife. Oh, she's really old. Okay, let's find maybe you can find Elimelech's sister. Elimelech didn't have a sister, or the sister's too old or something. Okay, let's find Elimelech's daughter. Elimelech, there's no daughter. It's fine. Elimelech's son. He got no son. Elimelech got no son. What about Elimelech's grandson? There's no grandson yet. How do we get a grandson? Hey, here's Elimelech's wife. Okay, let's have a son from Elimelech's wife. I'm sorry, Elimelech's son's wife. Okay, let's have a son from Elimelech's son's wife, who will then be related to Elimelech himself in a roundabout way, because it'll be related to Elimelech's son, who's related to Elimelech. And I've said Elimelech like 800 times. You can see how this can get contentious, confusing. Yeah, I mean, it's a passage we've looked at several times, and we'll look at here. Zelophehad. Right here, full chapter. Watch this. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, the daughters of Zelophehad are right in their statements. You shall surely give them a hereditary possession among their father's brothers, and you shall transfer the inheritance of the father to them. Further, you shall speak to the sons of Israel, saying, okay, if a man dies and has no son, then you shall transfer his inheritance to his daughter. Wait a minute. Nope, you got to transfer it to the brother. Here, to the daughter. The daughter will perpetuate the name, the inheritance, and will be able to give it to somebody else. They will get married to other men. The first son that the daughter has, I'm guessing, will go to the dad. But then, after that, the first son will be the firstborn son of whoever they married. So there will be two firstborn sons. One will be chronologically firstborn. He will be the firstborn of, the official firstborn of their dad. Then one will be chronologically secondborn, but that one will be the firstborn of the husband. Confused? Oh my goodness. If he has no daughter, then you shall give an inheritance to his brothers. If he has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to his father's brothers, so his uncle. If his father has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to his nearest relative in his own family, and he shall possess it. And it shall be a statutory ordinance to the sons of Israel, just as the Lord commanded. It's always he, except for here, daughter. Precedence. So I'm guessing by the time they got down to Ruth, they had many problems like this and they had solved them in similar ways. Well, here's the daughter-in-law of the grandson's uncle's cousin who's related to the husband of the wife who's related to the there we got the inheritance. Do you? I mean, that's the way they did it back then. Now we're like, here, just sign this paper. No, you got to sign this too. No, here's another. No, we got to get a lawyer. No, we got to make sure it's stamped. No, is this the right title deed? No, who had the title deed? Wait, you owned it instead. We need another lawyer to make sure they sign that signature out there. See, today we get just as confusing. So don't be like, wow, that was confusing. They were archaic. Today, we're just as weird. Okay. What does any of this have to do with anything? It's the Bible. There we go. Let's look at KJV and new KJV. KJV 1611, which has been updated a few times. They still call it, here, let's see. Oh, English King James Version 1611. You see that tiny, you can see it's really tiny, but maybe you can see it. They still call it 1611, but it has been updated because Old English was difficult to read. New KJV, they updated it into such modern English that they went ahead and called it new, and they did, in some places, change the words significantly. Some places they significantly changed it. Let's see. Then Boaz said. Now this is a KJV. What day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi? What day thou buyest? What day? New KJV. On the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi. Okay. The hand of possession. When, Jesus said, whoever's in my Father's hand, no one can snatch them away. Father possesses them. Yeah. Okay. I want to look up hand of now, but we'll keep doing this. Maybe we'll look up hand of later. Okay. Then Boaz said, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi? On the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess. You must also buy it from Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead. Okay. To raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. The dead's inheritance? I think so. To raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. That's the only his. It's Boaz, the Redeemer, and the dead. You're not going to raise up the Redeemer's on his inheritance. No, it's not his inheritance. It's Elimelech's. It's not Boaz's inheritance. It's Elimelech's inheritance. So yeah, to raise up the name of the dead upon the dead's inheritance, Elimelech. To perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance. Leviticus 25. Okay. You can see pretty specific changes here. To raise up the name, does that mean lift it high? Probably not. To raise up might have been an old English way of saying to if someone's dead, they're raised from the dead. Maybe that's just a guess. That's a total guess. This is older English, not old ye old English that if we read it we wouldn't be able to understand it much at all. It'd be really old English. It's hard to understand. Let's look real quick. I'm going to type in here. Let's see. Original KJV. Old English. Is there an E after old for old English? King James Bible on that probably is originally published King James using archaic English. I wonder. Let's see what they have here. Let's see. O death, where is thy sting? O growl, that should be grave. Where is thy victory? Should be a Y. This U should be a V. Should be. In today's English, it should be. Okay. Let's go look at a familiar phrase. Oh, Apocrypha. The original KJV had the, what is this? Had the Apocrypha. If you're interested in that, I'll tell you later, maybe. All right. John. Oh, look, you can. Viewing the original 1611 KJV with archaic English spelling. Okay. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. That seems. All things are made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. That seems And the light shineth in darkness, ESSE, and the darkness comprehended it not. That seems mostly. Oh yes, there was a man sent from God whose name was Ion. The I should be a J in today, but back then they didn't have a J. I guess they used an I. I don't know. Name John. Yeah. Oh, and the Word was made flesh. Jesus was made flesh and dwelt among us. The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory, the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth, or truth. Oh, hey, here's John again. I-O-H-N. Yep. Oh, look at this. And of his fullness, two S's and an E. You got an E on the end, and on only one L. And of his fullness, how have all we received? You could see that. Okay. Back to Ruth. Okay. Interesting little tangent. Back to Ruth. Okay. Where is it? Okay. To raise up. So what is to raise up? What did that mean to the King James Version translators? Was it an idiom? Was it metaphorically speaking? Did the phrase raise up have a different meaning? Because over here, to perpetuate the name. Perpetuate that. Elimelech's name. Elimelech would die. Naomi would die. Ruth would die. There'd be no line of Elimelech. You want to perpetuate his name. How do you do it? Naomi would need to have a baby. A son, who would then have a son. Her son died, but her son had a wife. Somebody has a baby with Ruth. Sweet. Then he has a son. Elimelech's name is perpetuated. It keeps going. Right? Good. Over here, the New Revised Standard Version, to maintain the dead man's name, to keep it going, right? NESB, to raise up the name, Agrees with the KJV, but the new KJV, to perpetuate the name of the dead upon his inheritance, of the dead through his inheritance. Why through? Okay. The name of the dead upon his inheritance, his land. They're buying a field. You raise up the name and all his stuff. Below in some of the verses, it says, I have bought all that was Elimelech's. Boaz said to the elders, verse 9, I have bought all that is Elimelech's. But he's talking about a field. So either A, where is it at? So either the upon his inheritance is his field. We're gonna be on his field, like geographically located on it. Or upon is just it's a word that just says, oh, hey, here's inheritance. We're gonna raise it upon it. We're gonna raise it in his inheritance. We're going to raise it at his inheritance, through his inheritance. Just depends on the language you use. KJV had the language of upon. Through his inheritance is a little different though. How do you perpetuate someone's name? Through a son, through stuff they own, through the land. That was the most important part. The land wasn't going anywhere. Your cows and donkeys, your gold and silver, your house, all that could go. But the land, I mean, there are parts of, let's say you had a land where a sinkhole was and suddenly collapsed. Say you have a plot of land, like this is a limited land, then a meteorite hits it, disintegrates it. You just got a crater in the ground. You still got land there, I guess. You know, your house will be gone, your cattle will be gone, but I guess you still got a crater. You got that's your land. The land was very permanent. That's why. Raise the dead. You're going to continue the name of the dead through his inheritance. Whatever, which would be his son and the field. You're going to have a baby with Naomi. It was Ruth. You're going to have a baby with Ruth. Ruth's baby will then get the inheritance. There we go. Let's look at RSVP. New RSV. I don't know why they have a P there. But RSV versus the new RSV. Then what is that? Because BO, okay, and NA, I guess those are different parts of the name that people would name their kids weird stuff like there is a Peleg means split. And it says because there was an earthquake in the day whenever Peleg was born. There's another one, Ichabod, which means something like the glory left. Why? Because the Philistines took the ark, captured it, and left with it. The priest Eli was like, they captured the ark, and he fell back, and he was on his chair, and he broke his neck when he fell back. And some lady has a child and names it Ichabod because the glory left. You know, Jesus they would call his name Emmanuel. They would call his name Jesus because he will save his people from their sins. Jesus means he saves. Joshua means Yahweh saves. So Boaz probably meant something, and Naomi probably meant Nay and Omi. Imagine your kid's born today and you call him imagine your kid was named during a thunderstorm. So you named your kid Thunder. There we go. My name is Robert Jackson Allen. I named my kid Thunder J. Allen. There we go. What? You know, that'd be kind of, but that's what they did back then. So pet my cat for a second. Oh, good boy. Yeah, good kitty. He curled up and was looking extra cute, so I just had to give him a pet. Coffee. Water to wash out the sugary coffee. The water keeps my teeth clean. It helps me from getting a headache. Cat's done. Coffee done. Water done. Back to Bible study. Here we go. Then Boaz said, the day you buy the field. Then Boaz said, the day you acquire the field. I wonder, let's see. If you redeem it, redeem it. If you will redeem it, redeem it. If you will redeem it, redeem it. Okay. So I thought I would tell you of it and say, buy it in the presence of those sitting here. What is the it? The field. So I thought I would tell you of it, that you're the closest redeemer, and say, buy it in the presence of those sitting here. So here it talks about buying it. There is no one prior to you to redeem it. For there is no one besides you to redeem it. Prior, right? There's no closer relative than you. But here, the old one they have besides, so they change it to prior to try and get to that. There's no one, a better word might have been there was no one closer. BJ doing his own Bible translation now. Yep. Is selling the parcel of land. So then he said to the next of kin, He then said to the next of kin. Okay, and they got some dashes. So the old one, our old RSVP versus the old RSV, Revised Standard Version. I don't know why that P is there. Okay. The old RSV, the new RSV. Okay. The old RSV, then he said to the next of kin, the new one. He then said to the next of kin, Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab. Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab. Okay. Old is selling the parcel of land. The new is selling the parcel of land which belonged to our kinsman Elimelech. That belonged to our kinsman Elimelech. The difference between which and that, I don't know. But he's selling it. So he's selling it, right? And that was actually the case. There's that one we talked about during the year of Jubilee. Whenever you're buying land, you're going to buy it and you're going to pay the amount of money until the next year of Jubilee because you're paying for the crops the land produces. What is the land good for? Besides, like this is my land and pass on my inheritance. But what is it economically and practically good for? Crops. You're getting crops from it. You're going to buy the land. You're going to plant stuff in it. You're going to get food. They didn't call out nor, they didn't have farmers that made the food. Then somebody put it on a truck. Then the truck shipped it to a factory. Then the factory packaged it up. After the food inspector people looked at it, the factory packaged it up. They put it on yet another truck. They sent it to a store. Then they put it on the shelves, and you drive yourself to the store. No. Here's what they did: had them a parcel of land, sowed seed, tilled the ground, watered it, hoped to produce crops. Then they went out there and picked them during harvest time. Okay, that's why he's gonna buy the land. He's like, you're gonna buy this land from Naomi because it would produce crops for Naomi, but you, since you're taking the land that would produce crops from her, you need to pay her money for it. Let's look at this. Let's see if that works. Okay. Right here. Leviticus 25 and 25. Okay. Court. So here we'll look at the full chapter. On this year of Jubilee, each of you shall return to his own property. Pretty cool. If you make a sale, moreover, to your friend, or buy from your friend's hand, you shall not wrong one another. Corresponding to the number of years after the Jubilee, you shall buy from your friend. He is to sell to you according to the number of years of crops. In proportion to the extent of the years, you shall increase its price. And in proportion to the fewness of the years, you shall diminish its price, for it is a number of crops he is selling to you. You shall not wrong one another, but you shall fear your God, for I am the Lord your God. I'm guessing that's what's happening here. That's why they're selling the land. The land goes to the next of kin because they're the next of kin to perpetuate the name. But what about the crops that would have produced for Naomi? That's a different thing. There's the name, there's the land, which will perpetuate the name of the deceased through the inheritance. The inheritance is the land. Then there's the crops that happen to grow on the land. So you got to pay him for the number of crops. I'm guessing that's why they're selling it here versus down here. Redeem it. When you redeem it, so that's two different things. You redeem it to perpetuate the name. You sell the number of crops to get the crops. So two different things that happen to just be attached to each other. Kind of like if I said, hey, this car is my father's. I don't want it to go to the junkyard. Okay. You buy it from me. Oh, I will give it to you so it doesn't go to the junkyard. I will give it to you so it doesn't go to the junkyard. And the person says, thank you. And I say, okay, I would have gotten a bunch of mileage out of it. I would have gotten use out of it. So pay me, say, $1,000. You're not paying me $1,000 to perpetuate my grandfather's name. No. you're getting the car to perpetuate my grandfather's name, and then you're paying me for what I could have gotten out of it. Kind of sounds strange to us. I'm guessing that's what's happening here. So you're talking about inheritance this, inheritance that. Why are we worried about it? Why are we talking about it? This was everyday life back in Israel, right? Everyday life. This is how they did it. So we've talked about inheritance a lot. So, I mean, that was a little fun little thing to compare the old one, the old with the new, the old with the new, the old with the new. So here we got old and new. Left is old, right is new. Here we got left is old, right is new. Here, right is old, left is new. But kind of neat to do that. Maybe we can do that in other Bible studies. To like when you see the change in language, like why did the same, potentially some of the same translators between the NASB in 1995 and then 25 years later, the NASB from 2020, you could potentially have some of the same translators. Why did they change their mind? Why did they have the same translation philosophy in the NASB word for word? But why did they do the change? And these have certain old manuscripts, certain ancient manuscripts they would work from. They would take all these ancient manuscripts, they would work from them. The King James has a different set of ancient manuscripts. They might have some of the same, but they also might have some different sets of ancient manuscripts. So we see the same manuscripts, what they would do differently. Kind of like you're seeing like the same categories, but they're going to change some stuff. It's like, I wonder why. I don't know, but it at least helps us see like a different, it helps us study. It helps us study. To see different stuff helps us study. Okay. Now, let's go back. We're going to go down here. We're going to read us a story from Genesis, I believe. All right. Moreover, okay. Watch this. All right. Okay, right here. Then Boaz said to the elders and all the people, so verse 9, you are witnesses today that I have bought from the hand of Naomi. He bought it from the Redeemer, buying it from the hand of Naomi. I'm not sure. No, I'm not saying I don't know what's going on, but I'm not, why wouldn't he say I have bought from the hand of, oh, he didn't buy it from the hand of the Redeemer. The Redeemer was going to buy it from Naomi, then said, I'm not buying it. So Boaz is buying it. Okay. Now, Boaz is buying a parcel of field, which might have a house and stuff on it. Maybe that's where Naomi and Ruth have been staying. But here he says, I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belonged to Elimelech and all that belonged to Chilion and Mahlon. Furthermore, I have acquired Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon, to be my wife in order to raise up the name of the deceased on his inheritance. The deceased is Elimelech, and it's Mahlon, I guess, and Chilion. But Chilion's wife, Orpah, went back to Moab, right? So Boaz is not going to marry Orpah and Ruth. Orpah's back in Moab, and in Moab. Just Orpah. I mean, just Ruth. Just Ruth. The name of the book, Ruth. The widow of Mahlon, to be my wife in order to raise up the name of the deceased on his inheritance, so that the name of the deceased will not be eliminated from his brothers or from the court of his birthplace. You are witnesses today. And all the people who were in the court and the elders said, we are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who was coming into your home like Rachel and Leah. We looked at that a few videos ago, both of whom built the house of Israel. And may you achieve wealth in Ephrathah and become famous in Bethlehem. We looked at that. Okay. Moreover, may your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, through the descendants whom the Lord will give you by this young woman. And may your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, because of the offspring the Lord will give you by this young woman. Let's look over here. And may the Lord give you descendants by this young woman, who will be like those of our ancestor Perez, the son of Tamar and Judah. May the descendants be like the descendants of the May the descendants be like our ancestor Perez, the son of Tamar and Judah. Okay, I guess Tamar and Judah that thought was pretty important. Judah is the one who the tribe of Judah is named after. Judah is an important guy, so maybe that's why they picked Judah. And in fact, Judah is actually important in the Bible. Judah, who is where David is from eventually. Go down here. Let's see. Perez fathered Hezron. Perez was the son of Judah. Perez fathered Hezron. Hezron fathered Ram. Ram fathered Aminadab. Aminadab fathered Nation. Nation fathered Salmon. Salmon fathered Boaz. Boaz fathered from Ruth Obed. Obed fathered Jesse, and Jesse fathered David. There we go. David, the important guy. But did they know about David then? No. Why did they say Judah? I'm not versus some other son of why was it Judah versus another son of Israel? Because Judah was not the firstborn chronologically, but the firstborn in status. Here, let's look. That's my guess as to why they're saying Judah through Tamar. Let's go look. I think it's Genesis 24. I'm probably way off. Okay, I'm just gonna guess. 24. A bride for Isaac. I'm way off. Rachel, Leah. Leah have an H? Oh no. Leah. Wait. Oh, Jenna. There we go. This should work right there. 29. Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was beautiful of form and face. Weak eyes. I don't know what does that mean. Maybe she's cross-eyed. Maybe they were like this. Okay. 29, 31. Full chapter. Okay. 29, 30. Now the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, and he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. Leah conceived and bore a son and named him Reuben. Okay. Reuben is the firstborn. For she said, because the Lord has seen my affliction, surely now my husband will love me. Oh, because named him Reuben, for she said, because the Lord has seen my affliction. Let's look at K. See, K says, okay, let's look at K down here. Okay, see, a son. So Reuben means see a son. That's weird. Oh, because the Lord has seen my affliction. My cat just woke up and freaked out and jumped and it scared me. What did you do? Barney, hey, dude. Hey, man. Oh, man, my cat was having a bad dream or something. Just, man. And then I pet him and he jumped again. Sorry, guys. I got scared. Okay. Reuben means see a son. Because the Lord has seen or looked upon my affliction. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, guys. My cat's wigging out over here. So Reuben's the firstborn chronologically. He should be the firstborn. He should get all the inheritance and stuff, and then pass on the rest of the inheritance to his brothers. But he's the firstborn chronologically. So why not who may your house where's it at? All the people who were at the gate and the elders replied, we are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is entering your home like Rachel and Leah, both of whom built up the house of Israel. Well, they're doing that. We're reading about it over here, right? We're reading about it right here. Okay. Well, right now, Rachel is barren, but later she has some kids, don't worry. I think like one, maybe one. Prosper in Ephrathah, bestow a name at Bethlehem. Yeah. So like Rachel and Leah, both of whom built up the house of Israel. Israel is Jacob, right? Jacob, Israel, the house of Israel, the dynasty is of Israel, the dynasty, not the nation of Israel, the dynasty of the man, the house, the man's house, the man's ancestors, the man's continual family. That's why they end up calling it the nation of Israel. Most of it came from this man named Israel. May your family become like the family of Reuben, the family Perez. I'm sorry, the family Perez, whom Tamar bore to, it should say Reuben. It says Judah. You'll see what I'm saying in a minute. Rachel, okay. So there's, and then she conceived and bore again and bore a son and said, because the Lord has heard me, I am unloved. He has therefore given me a son also. She named him Simeon. Simeon is the second born. She conceived again and bore a son and said, now this time my husband will become attached to me because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore he was named Levi. And she conceived again and bore a son and said, this time I will praise the Lord. Therefore she named him Judah. Then she stopped bearing. Judah is the 4th born son. Why are they going? Why is Judah the important, like the family line went through Judah that goes to, Aminadab, Perez, Obed, Jesse, David, and eventually from David comes the Messiah, right? Comes Jesus. How come Judah? No, they didn't know about Jesus and David and all that. That's like, we know that now that we're in the future. But how come they're talking about Judah rather than Reuben? Let's look at some, or Judah rather. Why build up the house of Judah? And who is this Tamar character? Judah. Tamar bore to Judah Perez. Perez was the son of Tamar and Judah. Okay. Who is Tamar? Who is Perez? I don't know. May your family be like that of Perez. Okay. Let's go see. Why would you not pick the firstborn Simeon or even the second or third born? Who is it? I'm sorry, Reuben. Or the second or third born, the second born Simeon, the third born Levi, the 4th born Judah. Let's look at Simeon real quick. Simeon. There's the manager. That's not it. Now it came about on the 3rd day. I'm sorry, was looking up Reuben. I keep saying Simeon. Reuben. Sheesh. All right. We're not going to get very far, are we? We don't. Okay. Genesis 29. Okay. Full chapter. I'm sorry, guys. Going the roundabout way. Reuben. Re-ub-in. Okay. Re-ub-in. Why would they say the what was it? They said, may the Lord make this woman come into your house like Rachel and Leah, who both the house of Israel. Now, who's the firstborn of Israel? Reuben. And may their house be like the house of somebody who was born to Reuben. Why Judah instead of Reuben? The women don't really matter. The family line goes to the male, right? Of course, the women matter. All right, the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, for he was the firstborn chronologically. This is in Chronicles. Look at genealogy. Chronicles, they need a genealogy because everybody went to exile and they came back from exile. So then they wrote this book of the Chronicles of Israel, but they're like, hey, let's chronicle all the people in Israel. Now the son of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, not parentheses, parentheses, for he was the firstborn, but because he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given to the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel, so that he is not enrolled in the genealogy according to the birthright, Though Judah prevailed over his brothers and became the leader, yet the birthright belonged to Joseph. That's weird. Joseph gets the birthright, but Judah prevailed over his brothers. It's kind of strange. All right, now the day of the wheat harvest, Reuben went out and found mandrakes in the field. Okay. It came about while Israel was dwelling in that land. Israel, Jacob, his name is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob's name is changed to Israel. So not the country. The country of Israel was not dwelling in another land. There was no country of Israel yet. This is well before all that. They weren't a country until after Moses. And even after they're wandering in the desert, they're a nation, but they don't have a land. Joshua takes them in the land of Canaan. They beat everybody up. Eventually, they have the land of Israel, the nation of Israel, the whole country. But here, that's the dude's name, the father. Came about while Israel was dwelling in that land, some other land, that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard of it. No good, Israel. I mean, Reuben, no good, Reuben. Control F, R-E-U. Okay. Now there are 12 sons of Jacob, the sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, then Simeon and Levi, and Judah and Issachar and Zebulun, the sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin, the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's maid, or look at, lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Israel heard about it. Israel was gone doing something else, I guess. And while he was gone doing something else, Reuben was like, hey, concubine, let's do this. And the dad heard about it. They didn't keep a secret very well, did they? The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's maid, Dan and Naphtali. The sons of Zilpah, Leah's maid, Gad and Asher. There's 12 sons, right? There's 11, I believe, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, 12. Oh, you take away Joseph, and he has 2 sons who they go. So then you got 11, 12. 11 from Joseph. Then you got 13, but you take away Levi, who is a priest who doesn't get a piece of land. There's no country. So there's this whole Joseph thing. He's got 2 sons. He gives them to his dad, and he says, hey, dad, they're going to be in my place. Okay, it's a story from the end of Genesis, the very end of Genesis. Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre, where Abraham and Isaac had sojourned. Now the days of Isaac, 180. Okay, but let's find Reuben again. Reuben. Found the mandrakes. Oh, here we go. Reuben went and lay with Bilhah. Okay, the sons of, okay, 37. Reuben heard this and rescued him out and said, let us not take life. Reuben said, "Father, shed no blood." Those who came to Egypt, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, sons of Reuben, Hanok and Paula and Hezron and Carmi. Now your 2 sons who were born to you in the land of Egypt, this is, I came to you in Egypt, are mine. Your is Joseph. Your 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, shall be mine, as Reuben and Simeon are mine. Okay. All right. 4-9-3, full chapter. Israel's prophecy concerning his sons. He gives them some blessings. He prophesies about them. Okay. Gather together and hear, O sons of Jacob, and listen to Israel, your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might in the beginning of my strength. My might in the beginning of my strength, because he's his firstborn. Preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power. Uncontrolled as water. What happens whenever you spill water? It just goes everywhere, right? You put it in a pipe, it goes, but then what if it starts dripping and leaking? What happens in the ocean? You try to get on the ocean with a boat, with an ancient boat, you die. I mean, basically, you're trying to go fishing and you fall in the water. Oh, I can't swim. I mean, they did not like water. They try to, uncontrolled as water. You shall not have preeminence. You shall not have preeminence, even though you're at the beginning of my strength, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power. You're uncontrolled as water. I mean, you just go everywhere. You just do anything. You shall not have preeminence. because you went up to your father's bed and you defiled it. He, Simeon, Reuben, went up to my couch. So he starts talking about himself in the first person right there. He went up to my couch. Now there's two second-born sons. There's a second and third-born son, Simeon and Levi. Let's see. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Their swords are implements of violence. So you would think the title, since it goes past Reuben, since Reuben went up to the father's bed with Bilhah, the birthright goes past him. Then you defiled it. You shall not have preeminence. Okay, we've already talked about the firstborn, the inheritance and all that. That's kind of what this is. We talked about the firstborn chronologically, the firstborn. Okay, so Simeon and Levi are brothers, second and thirdborn chronologically. Their swords are implements of violence. Let my soul not enter into their counsel. I don't want to be with them. Let my glory be united with their assembly. Why? They got swords of violence because in their anger, they slew men. And in their self-will, they lamed oxen. Oh, they slayed men and they lamed the oxen. They probably cut the oxen's legs so the oxen couldn't go anywhere. Sometimes they did that. They call hamstring. Like if you got a bunch of, if the enemy soldiers, the enemy's army has a bunch of horses, they use them for battle. You capture the men and the horses. Well, you don't want to kill the horses. They didn't do it. So you hamstring them. You cut their legs so they can't ride out in the battle. They could still, carry around stuff for you, like in the city and from town to town, maybe slowly. So maybe that's what they did with the oxen. But why would they do that with the oxen? Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will disperse them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Simeon and Levi, gone. They'll disperse them and scatter them in Israel, in the land of Israel. But he doesn't have a land yet. But he has been promised the land. Maybe I will scatter them in my family. In their house, they'll just be, they're not going to have the inheritance, in other words. Okay. Let's look up. Who was it? Simeon, Levi. What's this whole thing about in the wrath they slew somebody? Full chapter. We're going to read this really quick. Here we go. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah. Yes, Jacob had one daughter. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had born to Jacob. Leah born a daughter. 12 sons and one daughter. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, who she bore to Jacob, went out to visit the daughters of the land. Dinah went out to visit the daughters of the land. When Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, the prince of that land, saw Dinah, he took her and lay with her by force. Oh, he humbled her. He basically raped her. He was deeply attached, or maybe he seduced her, but they call it force here. This guy, Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, he was deeply attracted to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. He loved the girl and spoke tenderly to her. So Shechem spoke to his father Hamor, saying, "Get me this young girl for a wife." No, he's already laid with her and defiled her. So yes, please get her for me. Now Jacob heard that Shechem had defiled Dinah, his daughter. But I think Jacob's sons were with his livestock in a field. So Jacob kept silent until they came in. So he didn't say anything until they came in. Then Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to speak with him. Father Shechem is going to go out to the father of Dinah. Now the sons of Jacob came in from the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved. The sons of Jacob are Dinah's brothers. They are grieved. And they were very angry because he had done a disgraceful thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, with their sister. For such a thing ought not be done. Yeah. Don't go raping the person. No. But Hamor spoke with them, saying, "The soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him in marriage. Intermarry with us. Give us your daughter. Give your daughters to us, and take our daughters for yourselves. Thus you shall live with us, and the land shall be open before you. Live and trade in it, and acquire property in it." I don't think they should do that. Shechem also said to her father and to her brothers. So Shechem said to Jacob and to Dinah's brothers, if I find favor in your sight, then I will give whatever you say to me. I will give whatever you say to me. Ask me, oh, ever so much bridal payment and a gift, and I will give according to as you say to me, but give me the girl in marriage. Look, I'll give you anything. Just let me marry the girl. What did Jacob's son say? Answered Shechem and his father Hamor with deceit, because Shechem had defiled Dinah, their sister. Yeah. They said to him, we cannot do this thing. Give our sister to the one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a disgrace to us. Only on this condition. Deceit. They're tricking him. Only on this condition we will consent to you, if you will become like us, in that every male of you be circumcised. They're all the Judeans are supposed to be circumcised. Hey, get circumcised like us. You'll be us. We're not intermarrying with you. You are becoming us. Okay, maybe that works. Every male of you circumcised. Then we will give our daughters to you. Then we will take your daughters for ourselves, and we will live with you and become one people. But if you will not listen to us to be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and go. Now, their sister. But hey, don't listen. Now their words, okay, let's see. Now their words seem reasonable to Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. Remember, they repeat everything in the Bible. Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. Hamor, comma, and Shechem, who is Hamor's son. Why did they repeat it? I don't know. That's the way they did ancient. Maybe if we had other ancient writings, they would do the same thing. Okay. The young man did not delay to do the thing, because he was the young man, Hamor. Shechem is the young man, Shechem, because Shechem was delighted with Jacob's daughter. Now he was more respected than all of the household of his father. So Hamor and his son Shechem came to the gate of their city, the important place, and spoke to the men of their city, saying, these men are friendly with us. Therefore, let them live in land and trade in it. For behold, the land is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters in marriage and give our daughters to them. Only on this condition will the men consent to live with us, to become one people, that every male among us be circumcised as they can circumcised. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Hey, let's live with them. Let's become circumcised. Will not their livestock and their property and all their animals be ours? Israel sons are saying, hey, deceitfully, get circumcised, and then we'll be with you. Don't worry. Shechem says, hey, let's get circumcised and let's do it. And Hamor, and hey, will not their livestock and their property and all their animals be ours? So both parties are trying to trick the other, it seems. Only let us consent to them, and they will live with us. All who went out of the gate of his city, listen to Hamor, his city is Hamor, and to his son Shechem, and they listened to him, and what? Every male was circumcised, all who went out of the gate of his city. And all the important people got circumcised. All the people who were at the gate that day who were listed got circumcised. Now it came about on the third day, when they were in pain. Who's they? The men of the city of Hamor. Hamor was the father and the king of the city. Shechem was a prince. When the men of their city was in pain, that two of Jacob, remember, is deceit. Now it came about on the third day, when they were in pain, that two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, the second and third born son, Dinah's brothers. Yep. Dinah was Leah's daughter, right? Yep. Dinah, the daughter of Leah. Leah was the unloved one. Leah was the one with Judah. No, not Judah. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, then Judah. Later on, Leah has the daughter Dinah. So two of the brothers of Dinah, I don't blame them. No. They shouldn't do violence, but they're closer to Dinah, right? That's their actual mom. Their dad is the same and their mom is the same. Whereas some of the other sons, like, hey, my dad is Jacob / Israel, but my mom was Rachel, not Leah. So, but their mom's actual Leah. This is their blood sister from both parents. What did they do? What did Simeon and Levi do? Each took his sword and came upon the city unawares and killed every male They killed Hamor and his son Shechem with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah from Shechem's house and went forth. Jacob's sons came upon the slain and looted the city because they had defiled their sisters. So then all of them went to the day, all the men are dead. Let's go. Let's go get it, They took their flocks and their herds and their donkeys and that which was in the city and which was in the field, and they captured and looted their wealth and all their little ones and their wives, even all that was in their houses. Man, they just took everything, the families and all. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, good job, boys. You have brought trouble on me by making me odious among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And my men being few in number, they will gather together. The Canaanites and the Perizzites, they will gather together against me and attack me, and I will be destroyed. I and my household. But Simeon and Levi said, should he treat our sister as a harlot? That's why over here, I'll disperse them, and Jacob scattered them in Israel. I assume that is why they don't get the birthright. Jacob did not like what they did. Although it came from like the right motives, I guess. Jacob is saying, look, you have made a great, and Jacob's a bad person. Jacob/Israel. Israel didn't even seem to, hey, that was our daughter, but you committed violence, which God would not like of us. You should have taken care of it in a godly way. No, Jacob said, hey, you made us odious in their eyes. Now they're coming to come and destroy us. He's, potentially, he's got a point there, but he could have settled it in some godly way. How? I don't know. I'm not saying I know Jacob's mind. Just violence, coming upon them unaware, deceit. And now you got people mad. It wasn't wise. It wasn't wise. It was out of their zeal. Right here. Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Yeah, you're going to beat your enemies. Your father's sons shall bow down to you. So Judah, your father's sons. Who is your father? Israel. In other words, Judah's father's sons are Judah's brothers. Judah's brothers shall bow down to him. This is very poetic. That's why it's in strange language. Your father's sons shall bow down to you. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He couches. He lies down as a lion. And as a lion, who dares to rouse him up? I'm not touching that lion. And get away from it. The scepter shall not depart from Judah. A scepter is what a king has, right? Nor the ruler's staff from between his feet. I think that's parallelism. Just like right here, this is parallel, these two lines. I bet these two lines are parallel. And these two lines, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet. Why his feet? I don't know. Until Shiloh comes, and to him shall be the obedience of the peoples. He ties his foal to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine. He washes his garments in wine, and his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are dull from wine, his teeth white from milk. That's kind of strange. I don't know. Maybe he's going to have a lot of vineyards. Maybe Shiloh is a vineyard place until Shiloh comes. I don't know. A lot of people see this, though, until he who comes to whom. A lot of people see this as a messianic prophecy, but I'm not getting into that now. The point is, why would they go to Judah instead of Simeon, or Reuben, the firstborn, or Simeon and Levi? What would they pass over them and go to Judah? Right here. May the Lord make this woman who came into your house like Rachel and Leah. With the offspring the Lord will give you from this young woman, may your house become like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah. You want your house to be awesome, like the house of Perez, who was born from Judah. So you got the firstborn, Israel. Then you got his firstborn, not chronologically, but in as far as like status, his firstborn, Judah. Okay. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Judah. That's just, all right. All right. Next time, we will look at the story of Tamar and Judah. That is one crazy story. But for now, are y'all still confused? I don't know. Like, what is the firstborn? Why? Who cares about the firstborn? Who cares about the inheritance? Who cares? Very basic Bible. We're trying to get our minds into the land of the Bible, into the ancient mind. How did they think back then? We want to understand. That's what we're trying to get at with very basic Bible. So, okay, let's pray. Lord God, thank you very much. Lord God, Lord, wonderful and holy and true. Help us to be holy as you are holy. Help us to help our minds to become renewed by being a living sacrifice to you. Thank you for sending your son Jesus to die and rise for us. Let us see your great and mighty works and praise your name. Amen. See you guys in the next very basic Bible.